Call the meeting to order. Please rise for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I want to welcome everybody. Please, if you've got a phone out there, either turn it off or put it on silent. And Commissioner Culberson, it's your turn on the prayer.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to take a moment of silent prayer, please. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, roll call. Starting with Mr. Culberson.
Aye, here.
Sound like
I'm
Willie.
already starting out like Willie. Stephen?
Here. Commissioner Smith is here. Commissioner Dove?
Here.
Mr. Ray?
Here.
All right. Okay, I got a... Well, before we get to that, I want to just ask, and Mike, make sure you listen to this. I want to make sure that ever since I've got on and been here, and I know some of the other county commissioners have, or at least a few, have felt the same way over the years. I don't like the limit of giving 5 people the opportunity to talk and not letting the other folks talk. I believe in the 5-minute rule, so I'd ask the county commissioners if we can put this on next week's agenda or sometime in the future where we discuss that policy that we have in place. Right now, you have to check in with Becky, our administrative executive, and sometimes people don't, but when people want to raise their hand and talk, as long as they're civil, I just think they have a right to, and I think that's why we need to probably take a look at that. So if it's all right, I would like to direct Mark to put that on for us discussion. Jeff, do you have any comments on that?
Fine with me.
Mike, do you have any comments?
So you want to, so if people are there to speak, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm fine with having it on discussion, but I'm all for anybody there being allowed to speak.
That's what I thought. Commissioner Dove?
I agree.
Okay. Mark, would you make set that up for us, reevaluate that policy?
Yeah.
Okay. After saying that, we have a, before I read that, I want to read a proclamation first. Proclamation, whereas on January 1st, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation freeing all persons held as slaves in the Confederate States. And whereas word about signing the Emancipation Proclamation was delayed some 2.5 years to June 19th, 1865, in reaching authorities and African Americans in the South and Southwestern United States. And whereas as the newly freed people began to migrate to other parts of the country, they shared their celebration of Juneteenth in the new communities, and the celebration has spread throughout the country. And whereas our country continues to heal, the recognition of Juneteenth as federal holiday renew the hope that our county's promise of freedom and equality for all Americans can come true. And whereas the county of Leavenworth, Kansas, we urge all citizens to become more aware of the significance of the celebration of African American history and the heritage of our nation and county. Now, therefore, I'm Mike Smith, Chairperson of Leavenworth County, Kansas, do hereby declare June 19th, 2025 as Juneteenth in the county of Leavenworth, Kansas. The witness set my hand. Okay, I have that to go. Anybody want to speak on that? Okay. The other issue I had was I had somebody had actually filled the form out. Terry, come on down. It's public speaking. You have 5 minutes. Get the city you live in and just your name, please.
Hi there. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. My name is Terry Wadalevich. I live in Lansing, Kansas. I wrote my comments down, so I'd like to read those. At the heart of every library, there is a simple but profound truth. Everyone belongs. A public library is one of the last truly democratic spaces, a place where every voice, every background, every story has a place on the shelf. And that matters because we live in a nation that is, by design, a rich tapestry of cultures, beliefs, identities, and experiences. The United States is often called a melting pot, and for a good reason. We are a country built on the foundation of differing ideas, values, and traditions. That diversity is not a flaw. It is one of our greatest strengths. And in our libraries, that strength is reflected through access to books and materials that represent everyone in our community, not just the majority, not just the loudest voice, and not just one point of view. When we limit access to materials, whether because of race, religion, gender identity, or even difficult or controversial topics, we don't just censor books. We erase stories. We send a message to members of our own community that your story does not belong here. And that is not what libraries are for. And that is certainly not what our country stands for. To allow only one belief system to dominate a public space like a library is to push others into the shadows. And that is not freedom. That is not inclusion. And that is not American. Libraries are not political arenas. Here's something we need to clearly say. It is not the job of the government employees or officials to decide what children or adults should or should not be allowed to read. It is not the role of the school board, a city council, or a county commission. Those decisions belong with families, not politicians. When the government tries to make those choices for everyone, it interferes with the personal and sacred bond between a parent and their child. And that is not okay. Books with complex topics are not dangerous. They are opportunities for discussions. They invite dialogue. They spark curiosity. They help us raise critical thinkers, compassionate neighbors, and informed citizens. Representation matters, not to divide us, but to remind us that we all belong to the same community. When a child sees themselves in a book for the first time, or when someone discovers a different perspective that changes how they see the world, that is where the magic of libraries lives. Everyone deserves to find themselves on library shelves. Everyone deserves the freedom to explore the world beyond their own experience. And that is the promise of a public library, and one we must protect. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, anybody else want to address the audience? I was looking back at Paul. He usually does. Oh, you serious, Paul? Okay, I'll take it run. Anybody else? Okay, I know. Okay. Yes, go ahead.
I would like to query the last speaker, ask her a question. And the question is, do you believe that there is a time and place for an age-appropriate guideline to be laid down on certain material?
Terry, come on back. Usually we don't get in a discussion like this, but go ahead.
There is, and that decision is reserved for the parent and the child.
So you don't think the government or the library has any responsibility at all for what kind of materials would be placed in the children's department of the library?
That is done through careful consideration and reviews of materials and following our a collection development policy. But again, whatever checks out of the library in certain sections is a decision between a parent and a child.
Well, I find the materials that were placed at the library to be wholly inappropriate for young children, and I think that's why we brought it up.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Terry, thank you for answering those questions. Okay, Mark, do you have anything on administrative business? Nothing. Okay. Jeff, do you have anything?
Nope.
Mike, Commissioner Stephen, you have anything?
Yeah, I do have a couple things. I think we should remember in prayer the folks up in Minnesota that were victims of the political shooting I think we need to kind of just all of us, whether we're conservatives or liberals, or whatever our point of view, blue or red, let's kind of lower the rhetoric and try to get back to having some unity in our country. I like the phrase unity in the community. Maybe we stop using some of the rhetoric like threat to democracy or existential threat. You know, we've had lots of political differences, and gun violence is that's never been the way we solve our problems in America. Through violence, and I just think we should remember these folks in prayer. And the second thing is, I think we should remember our friends in Israel and the folks on the ground in Iran that are being affected by this conflict.
Thank you, Mike. I have nothing. Mr. Dove?
I don't have anything, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
That's it.
I would like to the commission to consider our process. Last week, I had the opportunity to go to the Leavenworth City Commission, but I realized that those commissioners were frustrated by the process because they don't have the ability to either hear public comment or voice their individual concerns before the proclamations are presented. And so I would like to look and see how we can fix that here at the county commission level, to where if someone has public comment or a commissioner has a concern about a proclamation, they have a window to express that before the proclamation is read.
Right. Jeff?
I'm just trying to understand that. So
we don't have any today, but like in this case, it was a pride proclamation at the Leavenworth City. And so there were, I don't know how many commissioners would have maybe sided against it if given a public opportunity, but there was one commissioner that stood against it. But he felt his only opportunity to do so was more or less in his board member comments at the end of the meeting.
I see.
And so I was wondering if there was a window we could put in if someone wanted to speak or a commissioner wanted to potentially protest a proclamation that we would do at the county level. If we could put in a window for public comment or commissioner input.
So then they would choose whether they actually did the proclamation or not.
Right. That way, like whoever the chair is has the opportunity to make sure that he has the majority of the commission on board whenever a proclamation is presented, like before it's achieved.
I see.
Anything, Jeff?
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me either.
Mike? Mr. Stephen?
My only comment to that is that typically on the county commission level, we have not made it a practice to issue controversial proclamations. Mostly it's been for things like literacy month or like
And I was trying to think of where it would apply.
or the Council on Aging. So we haven't made it a practice to release controversial proclamations. I don't mind if you want to have a policy, but I don't think we. The only one that we have passed that was controversial was the non-sanctuary cities, and we actually did take a vote on that.
Sounds about right.
Mr. Dove?
Wow, that is a pocket full of information that I think that anytime that you speak from the commission board, it gives the impression that everyone on the board is in agreement with that. So I think that there should be something done with the commissioners before any one individual gives the appearance of speaking for the entire commission.
Okay,
So-
looks like we got.
So that's,
I understand. Looks like since may it be I would suggest then, since we're doing that, I don't know of anyone we've seen, and we could definitely try to stay away from things that are like that law enforcement, but I can see why people would think that. Maybe if there's a proclamation coming up in 2 weeks, the week before, we have it in front of us to see if there's any discussion on how we want to handle it.
Well, Commissioners, one of the things, most of our proclamations are annual, so like every year we just redo them. So what we could do is provide a list of all the proclamations that we do in a year and have the board vote on that list at that time. That way you have an opportunity to remove any that you wouldn't support. And then if they're not on the list, we just simply don't do it.
I think the other thing is maybe is the wording. We'd have to see the wording in the proclamation too. That would be, I think, important. So you'd have to put those out also. So the county commission. I mean, I don't want to get tied up too much on this because honestly, the ones I've been part of it was here in Lansing are always been very positive things. But I can understand how this could get a little sideways in today's political climate. So, Mark, would you have a problem sending those out? I mean, the entire the wording of them also.
Yeah, we'll provide the list, and then we'll try to make available any of them that we've passed in the past, or if a commissioner has a specific question, because I think most of them are like Public Works Week, Law Enforcement Week, those types of things. I don't know that if you want to see those, we can certainly get them, but I think that might generate more than we needed. But certainly, if you had some that you wanted to see specifically, we could do that.
I think your recommendation is what I was looking for. You know, if we can see them, like you said, 2 weeks ahead of time, that way.
In its entirety.
Yeah, that way we're
I think so.
Kept current.
Yeah.
You know, I think looking at them for the year at a time is going to be too much. But the 2
I wouldn't
weeks
mind
ahead,
having the entire ones we do every year because I think sometimes it might, unless Becky catches it or somebody catches it, we tend to forget some things. And I don't want to forget law enforcement, EMS, this what we just did today,
That's
or something
true.
like that. So maybe having a list that we got in place just for our own, but then coming ahead and saying this is going to be presented in a week or two, whatever Mark's timetable is.
Awesome.
And then we could review the content of the proclamation.
Thanks
Is
so much.
everybody okay with that?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Just, I want to make sure that there's a method or mechanism to where if we wanted to add one, we could vote to add one.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, Mike. Absolutely.
And then the second thing is, we have not made it a practice in the past to include the proclamation in our minutes. But I think that would be a good thing to do is if we pass the proclamation, then in the next week's minutes we have a copy. So, I mean, you're really passing a proclamation for posterity, so it should be included in the minutes.
Everybody okay with that? Any questions, concerns? Mark, you have anything with that?
Well, obviously we can do that, but we have not made it a practice to verbatim place anything in the minutes. So, like a resolution, we don't put the full resolution in the minutes. It's part of the packet. So the proclamation, the language of the proclamation is in the packet on the week that we approve it, and then that is obviously, you can pull those up from decades back. But we can do that if that's what the board wants.
Commissioners?
What do you think about that, Commissioner Stephen?
I understand. I just like the fact that if we pass the proclamation, we're wanting posterity to know that it happened. Just attach it to the minutes.
Well, doesn't the minutes show that we read the proclamation? We had a proclamation we were talking about. It's on the agenda. It's just not in full form. Just not in full form. It really, staff has a lot to do. I just don't want to get compounded with something else. Jeff, what do you think about that?
Doesn't matter to me either way.
Okay,
Fine.
Vanessa.
I will do whatever the chair thinks is best for the commission.
There you go. It's on you, bud.
Okay, let's go ahead. I tell you, let's do this first, since I got the three of the votes. Let's go ahead and just see how it's going to work with the proclamations coming out ahead of time, and then if we need to start putting them in full blown in the minutes besides what we're saying, then we'll do that. And I think we have at least three votes on that, so if it's okay with the 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever, we'll start that way, and then we have to continue down that road. Then we'll continue down that road. Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Let me see. Vanessa, you have anything else? You got me going there. Okay. Okay, Mark, you didn't have anything you said? Okay. On consent agenda, item number 6.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second it. Any discussion? Mr. Culberson?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Willie. Okay, formal board action. Consider a motion to accept the bid from Ebert Construction and issue the notice of award for 235th Street project between Hollingsworth Road and Dempsey Road in the amount of $4,301,411.96 with a 7.5 contingency. Morning, Bill.
Morning, Commissioners. Excited to be in front of you here today to get this project off the ground with an authority to award KDOT package. So today, for your consideration, we do have the approval of the acceptance of the low bid by Ebert Construction for the 235th Street project. Obviously, you guys know, but just a little background on that project. It has received Kansas cost share funding for $950,000, and then it received congressionally directed spending supported by Senator Moran for $2 million. And so the overall grant funding on the project was $2.95 million. The bids did come in. We received 4 bids. Ebert Construction was the low bidder by a considerable margin. There is a large construction window for this project. It's primarily the bulk of the project will be completed next year, but the project will start this year. It is a 13-month project with considerable dirt work and a lot of rock excavation. The low bidder was low by $920,000, which is a considerable margin. There are, I will state now, there's a 7.5% contingency on this RBA. Like many things, we try to mitigate cost versus risk. This project originally started in 2018. It was part of a 4-project design package. The other 3 projects were canceled by a previous Board of County Commissioners prior to 2020. And this project was originally designed as a chip and seal roadway. With this funding and with the knowledge of the traffic levels and the need for asphalt on that roadway, the cross sections were changed to include an asphalt roadway design. And the plans were updated to KDOT standards. But stating that, I want to make sure that it is clear there were some things that risk was mitigated regarding this, and those include the geotechnical information was not completely regathered at the time that these projects were done. So there was no cement-treated base included on this project, and as you guys are aware, that would be new information for the 2 new commissioners. The soil suitability of the soils for compaction in some locations in Leavenworth County can be very hard to achieve, and we have had, at least on one project, the situation where we had to come back and do cement-treated base, and it required a change order. So just that is not included in this bid package, but if you're going to go out and do all of that geotechnical information, you may find that it's not necessary. So there is a risk versus reward. If you're going to have to do that work anyway, there is no issue with go ahead and moving forward with this project. We are very excited with the bids. We've worked with Ebert Construction a number of times on bridge projects. This will be the first road project that I've worked on with Ebert Construction in the past 15 years. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Commissioners? Jeff, you have anything?
Nope. Ready for a motion?
Go ahead, Mr. Pett.
Bill, you said there was a considerable difference in the amount of the bids that we received.
Yes, that's
Is there
right.
any particular reason that you can think of why that's such a huge margin?
The project was bid with unclassified excavation, and so because we didn't, in 2018, prior to me being here. It was elected not to do full geotechnical evaluation of the road to determine how much of that excavation was rock versus how much of that excavation was dirt. And so there has to be an assumption made by the contractors of how much rock will need to be excavated on the project.
Yeah, that's
so because we got 4 bids, we saw a range. We estimated on the engineer's estimate that 40% of the removal would be rock. The engineer may have felt that it was diggable. There could have just been a competitive difference on how much work each contractor had. I spoke to Ebert Construction's project manager this morning just to be able to answer any questions you may have about the discrepancies, and he was confident in their number and felt that it was a number that they stood behind and had no issue moving forward with.
It sounds like that ecological assessment that could have taken place is the amount of dollars that are not being used or bidded for in this.
No, the geotechnical borings, if they were completed on the project, would not have cost nearly $900,000. They may have cost $75,000 or something in that range, but we would have been paying a much higher price for the rock and a little bit lower price for the dirt excavation. It would have classified it as classified excavation and rock excavation, and so it may not have affected the price at all. And so I think it's a situation where you have some contractors who already have work that's continuing into next year. I know one of the contractors is working on the South Lawrence Traffic Way and has a lot of work in Lawrence, and the other one may have work in other states. And so I think it's a issue where you have, once again, everyone has a lot of work right now in the industry, and what we found was we got a contractor who wanted to put in a truly competitive bid, is what he told me this morning, and wanted to have that work on his books in order to bid other projects next year, maybe at a higher rate. But he wanted to ensure his crews had work for all of next year. It is also a prevailing wage job, so the Davis-Bacon Act applies to this project, and so union wages will be paid to all contractors regardless of their status.
Thank you for the explanation. It makes me feel good that we've just got 4 bids.
Yes.
This time in the past, I've sat here and we've gotten 1.
Yeah.
Yep. So 4 makes it a better equation for me.
That is, and I think that is the result of, we allowed the contractor to wait. And the late start date on the project is October, and so it gave contractors time to get started on the project. And then we also provided a 13-month window for the project, so the project, if started in October, doesn't have to finish until approximately November 1st of next year. And so by providing that window and allowing them to bid this as next year's work, I think it piqued the interest of more contractors.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Vanessa, you have anything for this one?
No.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Mike. I was coming to you. Go ahead.
are you ready for a motion?
I'm ready.
Okay, I'd like to offer a motion that we accept the bid from Ebert Construction and issue the notice of award for 235th Street project between Hollingsworth and Dempsey Road in the amount of $4,301,411.96 with a 7.5% contingency.
Second.
Motion and second. Any more discussion?
I want to say people have been waiting for this for 70 years. I know that Commissioner Culberson received a lot of information from people, and I've heard from people.
Yep.
This is a big, big deal, and it's great that this is getting done.
Long time coming. You're absolutely right. Nothing else. I'll start the roll call. Commissioner Culberson?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
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 All righty. Very good. Item B on the phone board action, consider a motion to approve the contract with Dollinger Construction for the replacement of Bridge K-19 on Fairmount Road in the amount of $1,233,749.70 with a 5% contingency. Yours, Bill, again.
Commissioners, these bids were reviewed, and the notice of award was issued based on your decision of the May 28th meeting. This is just approval of the contract for that project with Dollinger Construction. So nothing has changed. We did use the standard contingency on this project, and we are looking to move this project forward. This project is the one that we rebid, and we had more competitive pricing as we move this project back into winter.
Okay, yeah, it's coming to commissioners. Anybody?
No questions.
Mike? Yeah.
I'm okay. Good.
Nope. Ready for a motion?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract with Doslinger Construction for the replacement of Bridge K-19 on Fairmont Road in the amount of $1,233,749.70 with a 5% contingency.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll start roll call.
Bill?
Go ahead, Mike.
Bill, how much less was this than the last one?
$345,278 was the difference between the two bids.
That's a good amount of savings for the taxpayer.
Anything else? Anything else, Mike?
Nope.
Commissioner Culberson?
Aye.
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 Mike?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Good work. Item C, consider a motion to enter into an interagency agreement with the Kansas Department for Children and Families to allow the county to receive partial reimbursement for court-appointed attorneys' expenses related to Title 4-E foster care.
Good morning, Commissioners. What you have before you is a draft agreement that I'm looking for approval for. We've talked in the past about the county's duty to pay the court-appointed attorney's fees. This is an opportunity to recoup a very small portion of those fees. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services created a program to allow governments to recoup up to 10% of it. The state of Kansas, through the Department of Children and Family, is monitoring this program. The county would actually get about 5% of it. The state's keeping 5% to manage the program. And this goes to help reimburse us for fees that we are paying for what used to be called children in need of care, but the terminology is now more foster care. It's to represent the child, the parent, their caregivers. And it's a pretty intensive process where we had to go back, look at how we build these things and how we're going to track the information. The first step is getting this agreement with the state. I did have a communication with them this morning. There's little tweaks that they're going to want to the cost allocation plan and how we report the information. So I'm asking the board to consider and approve an agreement in substantially the same form as this, with just a few minor reporting tweaks to it to allow us to start recouping costs. Last year, I think we definitely spent about $105,000 in sync-related costs, probably more. I'm expecting more this year because statute has increased the ability of those who would be entitled to a sync attorney. I think the maximum amount we could recoup is about $25,000, but it's still
$25,000.
$25,000.
Yes. Very good. Any questions? Mike?
This is Commissioner. Yes, is it going to be administered through the Community Corrections Department or Juvenile Community Corrections or through the county office?
At this point, it's probably going to be through the county counselor's office because I have to review the bills as they come in. And Community Corrections, I don't think, has the bandwidth for this. So,
Your office, this will be more duties for your office.
that's correct.
Well, that's unfortunate, but this looks like a good program.
Okay. No other comments? I'll entertain a motion. Go ahead, Vanessa.
Consider a motion to enter into an interagency agreement with the Kansas Department for Children and Families to allow the county to receive partial reimbursement for court-appointed attorney expenses related to Title IV-E foster care.
I'll second. Any more discussion? Seeing none. Commissioner Culberson?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
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 All right. Thank you. Okay, we're down to presentation discussion. Is anybody out there that wanted to present something that was not in the early part? Introduce yourself, come on up. I think I know who you are, though.
Thank you very much. My name is Larry Bigelow. I'm with Champion Health. I'm from Topeka, Kansas. And I'm here to thank you all for several months ago challenging us to go to the Kansas Association of Counties. They have become one of our biggest supporters, proponents, and referral agents, you might say, in this plan. They were very cautious at first. They said, "This sounds too good to be true."
It does.
And I said, then take us to the washing shed, take us to the dog shed, whatever. They had their CPA firm, SSC, look it over, and they said, this is the way it's supposed to do. They said the only thing they made a mistake on was Capers, because Capers has no relation to the federal level. It's simply a state run, so he said they missed it by $2. We like to estimate low, and when we tell people that it represents an average savings, an increase in take-home pay for your employees of $125, 4 of the 5 of them took home more than $200 a month. Amy Addington, their gatekeeper there, called me twice yesterday, giving me good updates. I will tell you, too, besides the KAC, we have received 2 school districts that have come aboard. Yesterday, Osage County voted unanimously to get the proposal and pursue this. We're simply here today to thank you and to ask if there's any other questions. I sent an email to Commissioner Dove and to Administrator Lowry showing KAC's support and approval of the program. And we're just here to say if there's any other questions that we need to answer or satisfy to prove this is not too good to be true, we want to take care of that, because this represents to you, this is based on 388 participating employees, because our national average is 91% of the FTEs, full-time employees, participating for your county, based on 427 employees that Google told me this morning on the way up. Your guaranteed FICA savings is $222,883.75. Your estimated, based on a 10-year industry average of reduction in claims against your major medical plan, represents $279,360. That's a reduction of spending of $502,243.75. Your increased employee earnings conservatively is $582,000, which makes a total financial consideration at a net zero cost to your county of $1,084,243.75. We are having an extremely good rapport with people across the aisle from us over in the city of Lawrence. We have also, with Douglas and Shawnee County, the Department of Corrections has said very loudly, we want this. And so KAC has become the champion for us of the participating counties in their organization. What we want to do now, sir, is help the counties become the champions for their jurisdictions.
Mark, do you have questions?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. I think that's the only person we're going to jump into. That's all right. Commissioners, we're going to jump into the budget. Let me see. We're at 9:30. Okay, we're good. First one up is the Fair Board. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to be here again this year. Much like we did last year, I do have a presentation, and I'll try to get through it quickly. My name is Marlo McGee. I am the treasurer for the Fair Association. To my left is Vice President Mike Kissinger. To my right is President Mike Johnson. Again, thank you. A little bit of background. This is our 99th year for the Leavenworth County Fair. If you add 1 to that, it's 100. And next year, we're looking forward to the centennial celebration, hoping to have some unique things planned for the fair next year. We are one of the largest county fairs in the state of Kansas. I would say it's probably the event of the year for the county. So we take that pretty seriously. Just as a bit of a reminder, the fairgrounds use is the primary event is the county fair. Previous use by the Sheriff's Department, emergency preparedness, have used the fairgrounds without any rental fees. Just a reminder, for the fair, we do pay for EMS services, sheriff for security services, as well as mutual fire services. In 2024, we paid $3,500 for those services. It does serve as a voting precinct. Senior Day at the fair, we are a significant sponsor for Senior Day at the fair for Council on Aging. We do provide the tent for that. We rent the tent for that activity at $1,200. Also provide the sound system and sound engineer and setup for that activity. Just another couple of items of note: Tonganoxie Recreation Department, USD 464 FFA chapter are extensive users of the fairgrounds, and the Tonganoxie School District just last year approached us about having the site available for any kind of a disaster site for during the school year. Numerous 4-H programs, of course, use the admin and 4-H buildings throughout the year on a monthly basis, and we, of course, fund those utilities for those events. The next slide, financials and revenue stream. The county appropriation for 2024 was $50,000. Just a bit of a reminder, it was down from $68,000 in 2023. Fair expenses for 2024 were $97,100 on revenue of almost $160,000. We are a complete volunteer board. No one gets paid, so those are actual expenses and revenue. Year over year, plus or minus 1.5% on revenue versus expenses. Our fair revenue is not guaranteed, of course, subject to weather. Other competing activities during that week, concerts, sporting events, etc., may dip into our fair revenue. As far as donations, I know this has been of interest in the past. We did receive a donation in 2023 for $5,000 from an anonymous donor, and a donation in 2024 for $10,000 from an anonymous donor. All of those funds went into projects for the administration building for paint. That was painted last year before the fair, and earlier this year we completed the project for lighting in the admin building. So hopefully that'll be of note this year when you're in and out of that building. A budget overview: our planned expense budget for 2025 is $195,000. Just a note, this is down $30,000 from 2024. We have cut advertising this year as a portion of some of those cuts, and certainly do our best to drive down costs. Expected income budget this year, total income is $209,000. That's up about $8,000 over last year. Again, that's fair revenue, and then any throughout the year rental fees that are collected. Just as a reminder, we presented the electrical infrastructure project. That was a significant cost to the Fair Board in 2024 at $123,000. We did take out a $50,000 loan just to make sure that we didn't cut ourselves too short on that. So we did paint the admin building, as I mentioned. That was the justification for a rent increase last year, and we have voted not to increase rental rates for this year, just because we've increased rental rates 2 years in a row. The next slide is our capital improvement projects. These aren't in any particular order. We are working on the horticultural barn. That project is expected to be completed before the beginning of the fair, but beyond that, those aren't in any particular order. We did spend almost $10,000 on the air conditioner units in the administration building earlier this year for repair. So we know we are very much on borrowed time for those systems. Last slide, our ask, and again, thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning to present. Our anticipated budget surplus is $14,000 for 2025. That's not much of a margin, but our budget ask for 2026 remains the $50,000 that was given to us last year. The fare premium, I am asking for $12,250. Our expense for 2024 was $12,223, with the appropriation last year of $9,530. So we did cover that difference for premiums in 2024. We certainly would appreciate your consideration for any additional funding for the capital projects. I've made that note on the previous slide. And again, just thank you very much for the opportunity to be here this morning. Any questions?
I just got one. Mark, isn't there one required that we're required to be involved in? On
Fair premiums is a statutory requirement. Leavenworth County does have to fund fair premiums.
Okay, sorry. Any questions?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of questions. I'm trying to put this into the right language so it doesn't cause any type of disparagement on anyone. With the use of fairground property, is there anyone that is using the fairgrounds that's not participating in the, let's say, paying rent for
Upkeep
of the grounds?
Mike,
Can you speak up? I didn't hear you correctly.
Okay, let me get a little closer to this mic. Is that any better?
Yeah.
Okay. Is anyone using the fairgrounds and not participating in the upkeep of the fairgrounds without paying for it?
Extension, I mean, our 4-H programs, FFA. He listed the city. I mean, when the sheriff and stuff comes down to use and stuff, I mean, those kind of places.
Okay, I'm not speaking of any nonprofits.
Profits. That's what he's
I'm
looking
speaking
for. Yeah.
Of any particular entity for profit using the fairgrounds and not paying rent or usage fee?
everybody pays. Yeah.
Everybody pays?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Good question. Okay, anybody else have anything? Mike?
Mr. Chairman, a couple questions. What types of insurance do you carry, and have you had those premiums moving upwards? The first question.
They increase every year. Our insurance this year is going to be close to, I think it's $36,000.
And that's up. Is that up? Like what percent?
It's up over last year about $3,000.
Okay, about $3,000. Okay, second question. Do you have an adopted storm procedure policy in the event of a storm?
At what, the fair, Mike?
Yeah, at the fair.
Yeah.
There was
We got emergency preparedness there that keeps an eye and tries to give us a heads up so that if we have to evacuate the fairgrounds in the event of a storm, we have plenty of time to do so.
okay. So you feel like you have a handle on that?
I believe we do.
Yes.
Okay. Any major projects in the near or in the long-term future, budgeted or unbudgeted, that you believe are going to be something you're going to have to come to the county to request funding for?
Probably the AC.
The most significant project would be the air conditioning units. To answer that directly, I mean, it remains to be seen, Mike, as to whether or not we would need funding assistance. We kind of take a pulse of things after the fair, see what our revenue stream is after the fair. A significant portion of our financial activities, of course, occur the latter part of the year with the fair. So our plan right now is we did take out that $50,000 loan, is not to take out any additional loans for projects. So it would remain to be seen, Mike, in all fairness. I would want to say no.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I do want to say I appreciate everything you guys on the Fair Board are doing, and you're all volunteers. And this is a really great thing for the youth of Leavenworth County, all the 4-Hers. It's just a great thing, and the county wants to be supportive of that.
And again, thank you very much for your support.
Vanessa, did you have something?
It was kind of a follow-up to Commissioner Dove's question, so I'm just going to read just a clip of one of the questions we got so you guys can maybe answer a little bit more directly. It says, they let a board member run his business out of the fairgrounds, tying up the entire complex when he has an auction. The building is an outside grounds and show arena for 7 to 10 days. What kind of rent is the auctioneer paying to hold his auctions per event on the fairground?
So I would like to address that letter. We did see the contents of that letter. I did make a point early on in the presentation around the tent for Council on Aging.
Right.
That is funded by the Fair Association, so that was inaccurate in that letter. Secondly, and just 2 points on it, what rent is charged for that particular person, it was not a unanimous decision, but it is a majority decision what he pays.
Is it different from what a outsider?
It is, and the point is they are a consistent revenue stream for the year. So it is a significant revenue stream for us for the year for that individual. I will call out that that letter also referenced a 3-week interval there in that letter. 2 weeks of that was actually a private auction. So that was paid for by the person that was having that auction. The following week was the actual quarterly auction. So that accounts for those 3 weeks.
Would you be able to tell us the monetary difference?
$300
$300 per event?
for the week.
For the week. Is what the board member pays that has the auction.
Difference.
Anybody else for 7 days would be 14, and he pays 11.
Okay. And then, so is the Council of Aging giving money to the Fair Board? I think is what
They are
the
not.
question was. Okay.
They do not. We do not receive any funds from Council on Aging.
And so I think the only question maybe that I'm seeing that we may have not addressed is whether there's any other entity that potentially gets county taxpayer dollars that has some kind of agreement with the Fair Board, like you do this, but they also give you money back. Is there anything like that?
No.
Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you. Good questions.
Thank you for the
I
question.
think we all received those letters too on something like that, so I'm glad it was brought up and we got to the bottom of that. Okay, gentlemen, we thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next up is Sparrow Clinic. Come on down. Good morning.
Morning, my name's Patricia Halley, and I'm the director of Sparrow Women's Clinic. I'm accompanied this morning by our president, Gary Jones, and our secretary, Novella Rathjen. Sparrow Clinic has been in practice for over 2.5 years now. This year alone, from January to the middle of this month, we've seen over a 200% increase in utilization of our clinic. We provide free services to underserved people and pregnant people facing really tough pregnancy decisions. We offer free first trimester ultrasound, free medical grade pregnancy tests, free STI testing, abortion pill reversal therapy. We had our first success this year where someone called us. They drove from Topeka because we were the closest clinic that could offer this, and that baby is doing well and due in August. We provide option counseling. There are agencies in our county that only offer abortion to people, and we know it's legal, but we think women should know all their options and choose life if they can. We offer free prenatal vitamins, parenting classes, the cutest baby boutique you could ever seen in this county. We call it Sparrow's Nest, and we run it in a way that's win-win for the county, for the client and for the baby, in that we offer Earn While You Learn program. The client signs up and watches parent videos, earns parent points, and spends them in our clinic. No money changes hands, but there is a big perceived value in what they receive, and every appointment has been filled lately. It's booming over there. And we also just started a dad's club where men who do not have good role models can learn how to be good fathers and have fellowship with good role models. In fact, our board president is a member of that club. We have never been honored with a grant from the county commission before, but we respectfully request help this year. We have more staff, we have more rent, we have more supplies, we're offering more ultrasound, and our strategic plan includes the great need for a maternity home in Leavenworth. The closest maternity home is in Lawrence. They have 5 openings, and they've gotten 100 referrals this past year. There is a big need to help women who are in abusive situations or have nowhere to go. So we would like to provide that in our long-range plan. And I'm open for any questions you might have that I haven't covered.
Thank you. County Commissioners?
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So did I hear you say that you don't receive any federal funds?
We receive no county funds.
No county funds.
We are part of the state's Pregnancy Compassion Act, and we can bill the state for counseling and baby supplies. And on average, what we get is about $5,000 a month, and that includes both the clinic and Sparrow's Nest. So it pays the rent, basically.
It pays the rent. Okay. Could you recite that ordinance that you said that you're receiving funds from?
The Pregnancy Compassion Act?
Yes, ma'am.
It was first approved last year by the legislature. It was overridden. Is that the correct pronunciation? Is that what you do? The
Sometimes.
governor's veto. And it was again overridden again this year. Last year they provided $2 million for pregnancy centers, adoption agencies, and maternity homes in the state. So that ran out pretty quickly. So this year it's been raised to $3 million, and I don't think they're going to raise any of the things that we would bill for. It's not really billing, but that we submit for, because more and more agencies throughout the state are signing up for this because it's so valuable.
When you say they're signing up for it, are they actively participating in the funding?
Once they pass a rigorous vetting, they can bill the state for the services they provide. With us, it's about $2 a minute for counseling, for offering options to women. So that adds up over time with both our clinic and the Nest to about $5,000 a month.
Okay. Are there any of the clinics that you know of that are receiving funds in other counties or states?
I'm not aware.
Okay. All right. Thank you, and I appreciate the hard work.
Anybody else have any questions?
Mr. Stephen.
Go ahead, Mike.
Can you, obviously you're coming to us now requesting funding, but can you kind of reflect on what has gone on in the state of Kansas in the last 3 or 4 years on why the need is so increased? And can you also, I don't know if you have the statistics, but tell us, if you do, how the abortion rate in Kansas has just skyrocketed because surrounding states have changed their laws.
Right. Kansas is now, instead of tourism, it's abortion tourism. People come from all around where there's more restrictions on abortion in order to come to Kansas. There's a limit of 22 weeks to have an abortion. Most of the abortions are caused by the abortion pills, which are mailed to our clients, that make dorm rooms and bedrooms all over our state into abortion clinics. It's very traumatic for the client. there's studies out now that say that we have over 11% serious adverse effects from the abortion pills. And I think they even stopped Tagamet for 2% increase in adverse effects. So there needs to be great limits put on the abortion pill. Safety measures, something to protect our ladies from bleeding to death in ERs. They're told by abortion centers not to tell the doctors that they took the abortion pills. They're just going in there saying, I think I'm having a miscarriage. But we got the data which shows 11% adverse effects from insurance companies. So that was a way to back end to get these statistics.
Is 11% in Kansas, or is that nationwide?
Nationwide.
Nationwide. In Kansas right now, a minor can be brought into Kansas to get an abortion, and we don't have very good policies to make sure that the parents were involved in that decision, do we?
We don't. The age of consent is 16, but we've seen clients as old as young as 13 and 14 come into our clinic. And if they have no parental guidance, they can decide on their own, from what I understand, to have an abortion.
So the real reason to fund a clinic like this with the taxpayers' funding is because the need has gone up since the last 3 or 4 years so dramatically. Yes.
People come to us mainly for the free ultrasound, because before you take those abortion pills, you have to make sure that that baby is in the uterus and it's not an ectopic pregnancy. So that is a very valuable thing we offer to protect women. We love women. We're not just about the baby, but we totally believe if you help the mother, you definitely save a baby.
Well, thank you very much. That's all the questions I have, but I'm very supportive of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? None? Thank you.
I do, sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Vanessa.
What do you do to raise private funds during the year?
We have a yearly fundraiser, and we have a baby bottle drive that's offered in several churches in town. We're supported many churches beyond that. So mainly we get funded by private donors and churches. And now, from the Pregnancy Compassion Act, it's been very helpful with the $5,000 a month we get from them.
If individuals donate, are they able to use it as a tax write-off? Or
we offer 70% tax credits on any donation made to our clinic, and that's been very popular this last year.
Do you have a amount of money in mind that you're asking from the county for next year?
I was asking $75,000 based on our strategic plan of trying to get a paternity home going in this city. But we would appreciate any offering.
Thank you.
Commissioners, anything else? Okay, thank you. Appreciate you coming out.
Thank you.
Okay, soil conservation. Who's got that one? Soil conservation, going once. Okay. Riverside Resources. Good morning.
Can I bring this to you guys?
Sure. Might be what we already have. Yeah.
Well,
Congratulations, you just got the soil conservation's money.
Well, I want to thank you guys for listening to us again. We're back again. I wanted to kind of explain what it is we did. My name is Michelle Hill. I'm the Executive Director of Riverside Resources. This is Shanna Flack. She's our finance director. Riverside Resources is a place here in Leavenworth County that we serve adults with developmental and intellectual disabilities. We have 3 group homes in Leavenworth. We're looking to try to get another one because they're reducing the wait list, and so we're needing capacity. We also run a day program, and the state has made several changes over the last year that we need to comply with, all providers. And one of those is starting like a supported employment program and a retirement program. Our folks are living longer because the care they receive is much better than it used to be 20, 30 years ago. And so we're looking to future as far as a retirement place where people don't have to come into work every day. They can retire, they can do fun activities. We do living skills, things like that in the group homes and in day service. Some of the things that we will need to do over the next year will be, excuse me, try to look for some training for supported living, for supported employment. We'll have to hire some more staff because when the supported employment will require that we have one person that takes a group of 1 or 2 people out to help them get a job. It's kind of like vocational rehabilitation, but it's more person-centered. It's more supportive. Voc Rehab, they go out a couple times with them, and then they kind of leave them on their own, and our folks need a little bit more support. So we're requesting $100,000 today. That will help us offset a lot of the costs for just our daily operations, but it also will help offset the cost of some of the changes that we're required to make by the state. We have applied for 2 grants from KDADS. One we were awarded. It helps, but it's not enough. So anything we can get to try to help us out, we provide a much needed and necessary service for the citizens of Leavenworth County that need our services. There's no other residential provider in Leavenworth County. And like I said, they're letting people off the wait list, which is good after spending 10 plus years on. But the problem now is that providers like Riverside that have a day service need to build capacity, which means we have to look for other other places to have our services. We have to hire more staff, make incentives, things like that. So just, do you have any questions?
Commissioners?
Not yet.
Mike?
Yeah, I do have a couple questions. First of all, what percent of your clients are in residential as opposed to day?
I would say about 60%.
60% are in residential?
Yes.
Okay. And is residential defined as they stay overnight and for an extended period of time?
Yes, that is their home, and that it's staffed 24/7 when they're not at day service.
And is it staffed by nursing aides or nurses or trained assistants, or what kind of staff? What kind of training does the staff have?
We have a nurse consultant that we operate under her license to be able to pass medications, but we are a non-medical facility. And so we assist people, we take them to the hospital, we take them to doctor's appointments and things like that. Of course, we help them with medications or any kind of treatment plans. But we don't have any medical staff on site, but we do have direct support professionals that receive extensive training, and they're required to have in-service training every year.
Okay. Do you train aides to help in outpatient or I don't know, it wouldn't be called patient, but to go out with families to have a respite or that kind of thing? I think that seems to be like a need that's out there.
Yeah, we have provided respite on occasion, but it's usually for very short term, like a week. So, but that is something that we would do for someone, absolutely. It again on if space available in order to provide that service. We have been able to in the past, if we've had an opening in one of our group homes, that we'd be able to provide respite on a short-term basis. But it would be helpful if we had a spot that was actually just made for that purpose.
Okay. And if we funded you at the same level, $60,000 rather than the increase to $2,000.
Yes.
I understand you really like to get the increase, but we have all these other folks that need help too.
Yeah.
That wouldn't cripple your operation, correct?
No. We would appreciate it, but we understand. We have a budget just like you all do. So.
Okay. Well, very good. That's all I have. And I just will say that I do have a special needs daughter at home. She goes to Happy Hands, and we appreciate everything you do, and it's just a work of love, and whatever we can do for you, we will, but you do understand these budgets.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Jeff, do you have anything?
Nope.
Commissioner?
No question.
Go ahead, please.
Hi.
Hi.
So, I used to have a family member that was in one of the residential programs in Wichita, and there was a lot of abuse problems within that residential system. Do you guys have struggles with that in the Leavenworth system?
We have not encountered that. Since I've been with Riverside about 15 and a half years, I've not seen that.
Okay.
I know it happens, but we are all mandated reporters, so, and we have let people go that even if they are reported.
Okay.
So we do have a method to do that. We do an internal investigation. We contact APS if something like that were to come to question.
I was not extremely vocal, but this was one of the things that I was campaigning on. And it's, I'll admit, close to my heart because of the family member that I have. But it's difficult to send a family member as far away as Wichita to have a good program, like you talked about the employment piece. So I would really love to see that be a reality for Leavenworth. Thank you.
Yes.
You made a good point. A couple of years when I came on, we had, at one meeting, we'd done away with the Riverside Resource Funding, and I acted like Commissioner Steve, and I wouldn't let go of it, and we ended up putting $60,000 back in. It's a phenomenal thing that y'all do down there. Now, whether we won't decide today how it's going to be funded or what we're going to be funded, but I think the service y'all provide is expert, so I appreciate it. Anybody else? Vanessa, you have anything else then?
Would I be able to come visit you?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. We encourage everybody that wants to come and take a tour to stop by any time, and we'd be more than happy.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Extension Office, come on down. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So for those of you that don't remember me, my name is Jacob Thomas, and this year I am serving as the chairperson for the Leavenworth County Extension Board. And so I'm going to kind of walk through our budget narrative just a little bit. As I'm sure you guys know, that K-State Research and Extension for Leavenworth County improves Kansas's lives, livelihoods, and communities through education, research, engagement, and leadership. We're dedicated to a safe, sustainable, competitive food and fiber system and to strong, healthy communities, family and youth through integrated research, analysis, and education.
Excuse me, could you get a little closer to that mic, please?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, no,
there you go.
Okay, sorry guys. So this year what we are requesting is a budget request of $280,036. That is a modest 5% increase over previous years. But
Bring that mic closer, please.
But our big reason for meeting that increase is that our budget has been stagnant for the last 3 years. And if you actually look back, I don't know, did you get this document to them? Okay. If you look back on the year 2005, we had a higher budget then than we do now. And how much has everything gone up in cost in the last 20 years? So we've also kind of come up with an alternative solution that's looking more in the long-term game plan beyond just the 2026 year. And that is something called districting, where we would partner with another county that is adjacent to us, potentially Wyandotte County. And this is a state statute program that a lot of counties have done. I believe it's over half the counties now are in some form of a district, but it allows the Extension Office, Extension District to be its own taxing entity, and it alleviates it from being under your budget, and it allows us to, and allows the people to have a little bit more control over it, that the new board that would form would become voted on by the public in a much more public setting, be more that November election where everybody's used to voting.
Right.
But when we've done the research with Wyandotte County, as far as like what it would cost, it ends up being no difference to Leavenworth County residents if we went with that districting option in terms of when you consider the dollars per person and taxes a year. Kind of an interesting part, too, is when you look at the other counties in Kansas that are about our size and about what we do. So, Leavenworth County has about 83,500 residents, and our budget in the past has been $265,000. If you look at Riley County, which is another military, university community, they have 71,000 people, so a little bit less, and yet their county extension program is funded at $667,000. It's more than twice what ours is. So you can imagine the amount of programming and community outreach and everything that their citizens can get that I wish we could provide our Leavenworth County residents. And, it's just incredible at our monthly meetings to hear about everything that our agents are doing every month to reach the community. A lot of times extension gets thought about as only being 4-H, and it is so much bigger than that. So much bigger. And districting with Wyandotte, we just foresee the harmonies because, we've got more agricultural ground in Leavenworth County, so we can provide agriculture experience to Wyandotte. Wyandotte has a little bit more of a low-income population, and there's so many programs dedicated to helping families, helping youth, helping people that need it. And so there's a lot of synergies there that we can really work together to improve. Our biggest challenge that we're going to be facing in this upcoming year is actually our vehicles. And so the current vehicles we have are old. I want to say the newer one is 12 years old and the older one's 15 years old. So they're just getting to the time that they're worn out. We would like to request of the county that we can join the vehicle leasing program that the county has, as opposed to us buying new vehicles or anything. There are times of the year where we need a vehicle every week, it seems like, and then there are times of the year where we don't use it for a couple weeks. And so we feel that if we're able to share with the county that, would overall save money. And then also with that maintenance being done in-house at the county shop, that would also overall cost less than taking it to another private mechanic. I think that was it on that one, right? What else do you think I need to be mentioning, Sonia? I'm
I guess, do you have any questions for us?
Commissioners? Mike?
Can you hear me?
We got you. Go ahead.
Okay. You're asking, well, just a little background on why the money's changed so much is since 2022, the county commission has reduced our outside agency funding by 33%. So we've been reducing outside agency funding. It's probably reflected in your number. But we have maintained a good amount of funding for you guys. I understand that everybody wants more, but if you do this change and you combine with the Wyandotte County, who will govern, and will Leavenworth County side of the extension have equal representation, or how's that going to work?
So the initial board in the year of formation is chosen by you, the commissioners, and then the board becomes on, I don't remember if it's 2-year term, 3-year term, what that is, but a rotation that's staggered, and it will be voted on at the November elections. So it'd be kind of like a school board is.
It's also half. Like Leavenworth County would have half representation, Wyandotte County would have half representation. It's not based on population. It's not based on anything else. The board is made up of half of Leavenworth County, half of Wyandotte County.
Yes.
And when would this take effect?
So the process would go into place. It would not happen for the 2026 budget year. It would go into, I think the goal would be July of 2026. So we wouldn't really see any tax revenue until 2027. It's a process.
And currently, the county extension, can you tell me how many employees you have, and has that changed time, increased or decreased?
Sure. So we currently have 2 full-time agents. We have an open position for an agent that is desperately needed. We have 1 full-time office professional and 1 part-time office professional, and everybody in that office is busy beyond what they can do in a 40-hour, even a 50-hour work week.
We also had periods, I know, this past year that we've had to close the office because we don't have staffing. So we're out programming, we're out doing different things, and so there's just not enough of us. So we've run into that a handful of times, especially in the last couple of months. So we are definitely understaffed. K-State actually allows us to have 4 agents on staff, but we currently don't have the funding for that locally, so we have 3.
And do you receive any monies from other communities, like cities, or do you get any private funding sources that you have?
Okay, I'm going to hand the microphone over to Anita.
Good morning. Anita Muniz Grand Prix. I'm the Family Consumer Sciences agent in Leavenworth County. There are a couple of ways that we receive indirect contribution or indirect support. One of those ways would be through our efforts in 2025 through SNAP Ed reimbursement. So our county has not had a SNAP Ed grant in several years. We have been working very diligently with our state and our regional representatives to hopefully bring that program back. SNAP Ed is Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program education in Leavenworth County. So teaching youth and families, also adults, how to buy fresh produce, how to preserve food, how to eat and fix meals on a budget. One of our initiatives is through our seasonal produce program with the Leavenworth Farmers Market, actually, and providing healthy, fun samples for people to try, along with providing recipes. So in order to receive pilot funds through SNAP Ed, we pay out of our programming budget, and then once it's approved through our regional office and our state specialists, we get reimbursement for those funds so that it doesn't dig into our programming budget. Another way we receive indirect contribution and support is through our volunteers. We have a robust Master Gardener program, Master Food Volunteer, and a large 4-H volunteer pool that contribute hours upon hours each week, month, and year that don't take away from staffing time, that they're able to provide programming and support for youth in the communities. That is also listed on page 10 for you, Commissioners. Another way is through agent associations. So both Sonia and I are part of our agent associations, which means if we would like to request for professional development or additional programming funds, we can do through. I'm through the Family Consumer Sciences Association, and she is through 4-H Association. Another way is through our program focus team. So every agent will select a program focus team once they have been onboarded into their role. Mine is through Family Resource Management, so teaching financial literacy, also VITA programming, learning about taxes, financial programs that are available to families in our area. And we just did a big professional development day back in March in which they paid for our professional development stay, I guess, there. Another way we receive indirect contribution and support is through our specialists and support through K-State research or through K-State main campus. We recently had a radon specialist come out at no cost to our county to teach a very large broker area, where they had some real estate agents have the opportunity to receive continuing education credits through Kansas Real Estate Commission, KREC, at no cost to them. That is just teaching the importance of radon safety and how to test for it, how to mitigate, how they can play that integral role when they are selling, buying, and going through that process with home buyers. We also recently had a specialist a couple of years ago come out to do some pond management work through agriculture and natural resources, again, at no cost to those clients and at no cost to our community. So you can see that we do receive a lot of indirect support and contributions, and although those may not be listed monetarily on page 10, we receive continuous support, and we're currently always learning about the different options and different programs that we can kind of dive into depending on the needs and wants of the community.
That's awesome. I just have one more question, and I'm going to direct this to Jacob and answer it too. But how is the Extension Office helping to benefit agritourism in Leavenworth County and helping folks kind of do what Jacob's done, but maybe on a smaller scale? And Jacob, why don't you tell about your jet produce out there?
Well, there's over the past couple of years, there's been several times that the Extension Office has used our farm as a location, a teaching location for various things. We've hosted, this is me speaking as a owner of Jet, we've hosted 4-H clubs numerous times, probably 2-3 different groups every year. To do tours, see how we raise the crops, how we raise animals. We've had, K-State partner organizations like CAUSE, the Kansas Area Watershed folks. They've come out and they've taught their classes and things at our place. There's actually an event being planned right now at Schwinn's Barn in the fall that's going to bring the State Secretary of Ag, Mike Beam. And so, these are things that Extension is doing to help involve the community with agriculture, and they're helping get the fact that the agriculture is here in our county out to the community. I want to share one more thing with you too, Mike. When I first got involved with the Extension Board, I was on it maybe 8-10 years ago, and then was on it for a few years, rotated off. And then I've since come back to the board. Oh my goodness, am I excited about what our current agents are doing versus what I saw 8-10 years ago? Because Anita was telling us about her Knowledge at Noon program for cooking and mostly cooking and food safety. Her class was so popular, she's like, well, we need to try to have a second location in Tongi. So they were able to get a space at the Tonganoxie Library to have a second one, so it's like every other week now. And then, she's been telling us, so the whole room was full. I was expecting 15 people. There were 48 people that showed up to one of the classes. And, just that was so exciting to me. And then Sonia has been going into the schools and doing all sorts of fun STEM activities, like how does wheat become bread? How does a baby chick grow and hatch from an egg? And that's an experience that I never had as a kid growing up. And it's really exciting that our Extension Office is doing these things now and getting kids those experiences.
That's awesome. Thank you very much.
What other questions do you have?
Anybody else?
I just want to add a couple things. Not really a question. Well, kind of a question. Aren't you guys the first Extension Office in the state of Kansas? So you're the oldest Extension Office in the state of Kansas. And then several years ago, after the 93 flood, Beth Hecht worked with you guys, and she approached me when I was a GIS director and said she wanted to start another program for kids in 4-H and teach them GIS mapping. And I said, I thought you guys just did farm stuff. Yeah. And she said, no, we do about everything. And so we got into a program with about a dozen kids. We kind of thought up projects for them. One of them was the 93 flood, wiped out all the signage on the Missouri River. So I hooked them up with Chuck McGaha on a boat. emergency response boat, and we loaded the kids up with GPS and their GIS mapping software and took them down the river, and they mapped all the signs that were missing from the flood, turned that list over to the Corps of Engineers with the GPS coordinates for everything that was missing. So projects like that. And I ran into Beth, I don't know, 10 years later, asked her if any of those dozen kids did anything with GIS, and she said almost all of them got jobs in GIS. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So the new model for 4-H is Beyond Ready. And that is a national push, I guess. And the idea of that is preparing kids to enter into the workforce, right? I think 4-H is already does that. We're all about life skill education. So I always tell people, like, when kids join 4-H, they see the project, they get excited about learning about a different project. But behind the scenes, they're learning life skills. So they're learning public speaking, they're learning parliamentary procedure, they're learning how to sell themselves, how to talk to an adult. All these things that they don't realize they're learning, they're actually learning. And so when you usually go back and ask an adult who was a 4-H'er, what is the main thing you learned from 4-H? Almost all the time, what the response I get is public speaking skills. The confidence to get up and speak in front of people. So that's, I think, is extremely important when we're talking about preparing our youth today to lead our country tomorrow, and giving them the proper skills to do so. I just took this past summer, I took a group of 9 4-H'ers to Washington, D.C. It was a 2-year prep that they went through and learned about civic engagement and how they can help in their communities. And then we ended it with a national program called CWF in Washington, D.C., where they got to learn about that, civic engagement, civic discourse, all of that at the national level. So the opportunities are vast and great. We have you're just looking at counties, we have the 3rd largest 4-H program in the state of Kansas. We're right behind Johnson County and Sedgwick County when it comes to programming, with the least amount of staff. So it's getting more challenging to provide programming needed for our youth. We do a lot. We always talk about that, how we do a lot with a little group out of our office. But we just think about how much more we could do, the more support we have. So.
Okay. Thank you. Jeff, do you have anything else?
Nope.
All righty. Well, folks, thank you for coming down.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Alliance Against Family Violence, it's your turn. Come on down. Good morning.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Elena Crenshaw, and I'm the Executive Director of Alliance Against Family Violence.
Pull that mic a little closer to you, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
The Alliance Against Family Violence is the only domestic violence shelter serving Leavenworth County and surrounding areas. Our mission is to provide safety, support, and advocacy for survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault while working to end the cycle of abuse through education and community engagement. We offer emergency shelter, crisis intervention, court advocacy, and case management service to hundreds of individuals each year. We are requesting $50,000 in county funding to support the salary and operational costs associated with the executive director position. This leadership role is critical to sustainability and effectiveness of our organization. The executive director is responsible for overseeing all shelter operations, managing staff and volunteers, securing funding, ensuring compliance with state and federal regulations, and serving as the primary liaison with community partners. County funding is vital to our ability to maintain consistent, high-quality services for survivors. While we receive some support through state and federal grants, these funds are often restricted and do not fully cover administrative or leadership cost. Without local investment, we risk losing the strategic oversight and organizational stability that the ED provides. The ED ensures that our shelter remains open 24/7, that staff are trained, supported, and that we can respond quickly to evolving needs of survivors in our community. This is our shelter manager, Christy Reed, and our client services manager, Jenna Motley. Sorry.
Okay. Y'all, either one of y'all have anything to say too, or add anything? Okay.
We're just ready for questions.
Okay. Well, good.
That's what we studied for.
Well, good. I supported this group for years. I supported it when I was a founding board member, when I was a police officer in Lansing, back from about 79. We started with Kay Anderson and those folks because we didn't have anything here. In fact, we testified in Topeka to get the law changed that usually it's a female. The female doesn't have to be a complaining party. The officer can be a complaining party. And that was we went all over the state of Kansas doing that. So I'm a big supporter of this and I've seen it one-on-one. So maybe I'm a little more outspoken on this because I've been in the homes of things that have happened like that. So I'm a big supporter of it. You've answered most of mine. I see your fundamental requests and things like here. It's a tough time where
Yes, sir.
county's paid by property tax, and God knows we're trying to make that go lower, and sometimes it's a tough thing what's going on in Topeka. Anyway, Jeff, do you have anything on this one?
Nope.
Mike?
Yeah, I had a couple questions for you. Appreciate the work you do, and the first question is, if Leavenworth County funding was reduced or eliminated, would your organization be able to continue?
We don't solely rely on that. General funding, we would have to step up our fundraising, but I think we could manage.
Okay. Second question is, how many clients a year do you typically serve?
So for 2024, we were 785 clients. That was it 785? 785 clients that we served for 2024. Over 1,300 of those, over 1,300 bed nights, which are clients that are in shelter, and then we have non-residential clients as well.
Right.
Okay, so I assume most of that, or the highest percentage of that is women?
Correct. The highest percent is as well. Sorry.
But that doesn't mean, Mike,
last time
there's been males.
I asked a question about how do you, we know that there seems to be an issue with men that are the victim of domestic violence, that they don't want to report it, or they some kind of like social stigma to reporting domestic violence if it's a man. Are there ways that the Alliance is sort of targeting to be able to serve that segment of the society that apparently is underserved?
Yes, so Alliance Against Family Violence, we do currently serve the male population as well. Each case is a case-by-case basis. 9 times out of 10, what that looks like is if we have funding available, that looks like a hotel stay until we can meet with them, assess the situation, and probably offer them some other resources. Obviously, if we were in a situation where we did not have hotel funding and we did have a male survivor that was in need, again, that would be a case-by-case basis. We do sometimes have a way that we can bring them in shelter depending on what the circumstances of everybody involved, the women that are there, the children are there. We obviously have to take all that into consideration with each case. But 9 times out of 10, that does look like hotel funding until we can, 3 or 4 days till we can get them some resources and help outside of that.
And so just for a comparison statistically, to show how low that is, how many clients a year would fall into that male category compared to the female side?
So I can't necessarily say that I have the number that was served in 2024 that were males. I can say that we have seen quite an increase in male supporting and male survivors reaching out for support and resources. We've actually had 3 in the last 2 months.
Okay. Well, very good. Appreciate the work you're doing. Too bad we live in such a violent society. It gets down to a lot of different issues as far as values, family structure, and all these things. But you're on the front lines, and we appreciate it.
I want to take a moment and touch back on what you said about us being able to sustain if the funding was cut for some reason. And I should say that last year we asked for funding for tech upgrades. Computer systems were 25 plus years old. We needed a cybersecurity company to come in. So we brought all of that in. We used those funds to bring all of that in, but the expenses going forward have been transitioned into line items on state and federal grant proposals, and those are covered that way. That is exactly what I would do. We missed a window from January to February for certain grants because I didn't come on until March. So we missed windows with federal and grant funds for this. And then with everything that the administration went through that first 90 days of roller coaster ride, we had to rely on general funds to cover a lot of salaries. This is to help us just survive until we can move these line items into something more sustainable, because we do understand that there are other organizations that are in need, and that as a community we do need to expand our resources to our community. So we're well aware of that. I just wanted to get that out there. Sorry.
One thing you might want to, and I can get Public Works, you got to stay on top of these grants, because I know you have turnover and they change, but we can talk about millions of dollars that Public Works has done on grants that we couldn't have done without it. So when you got a grant available, someone has to, my opinion, I was on the board for a lot of years, someone has to be that person, whether someone changes over, whatever, that can stay on top of that. Because when you got the funding that you don't have, that you need, these grants are everything.
Well, the alliance was closed for a couple of years.
Yeah, it was closed. I remember that.
Because they missed the grant.
Yep, yeah. I remember that. I remember coming out. Anyway, any other questions? We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Okay, next item is executive session. We do not need one, so I'll go around the horn. Jeff?
I don't have anything other than if you wanted to mention the EMS Fort meeting, how that went.
We had Commissioner Culberson and Mark, our county administrator, met with some people on post. I think we finally got the right group that can help us make some decisions, and the right questions were asked on the numbers. So it looks promising. Nothing's guaranteed, but we're moving forward with getting some kind of agreement. So maybe, just maybe, there can be something put back in the EMS coffer to offset the things that the county's paying for out of its own pocket.
To lower property taxes.
Yeah, and one thing too, I have to. Commissioner Culberson's been on this for 3 years, maybe for longer. So I have to hats off for being like a pit bull and not giving up on it and grabbing hold of something. Oh, there I go with that pit bull, being any kind of animal, grabbing hold of something and shaking it, because that really made a difference when we got to the meeting. And it started out a little rough, but I think at the end it was it came around very well, and I think we're moving forward. That's about all that we could hope for at that meeting.
Yeah, I'm glad you and Mark were there.
Yeah. Still got my taser, Jeff. Okay, Mike, do you have anything?
Well, I just want to express my appreciation to you guys for continuing that work. I hope it works out. I think it's well. I think you're on the right path, and I think nothing's free anymore, and that's. I think you're on the right path. Second thing is just a little part continuing what we said. We have reduced outside agency spending since 2022 by 33%.
Yes.
So it has been reduced a lot. And then when we get to the point we're talking about these outside agencies, my opinion is there's a little room in that budget for some of these things. So, but appreciate it. And I'm looking at the golf course out the window here in Branson, and I'm just thinking about you guys.
Yeah, I bet you are, Mike. Thanks, Mike. This is one of the tough part of the thing when you got the spending summary or spending for not outside county agencies, because these are very things that are needed and very strong. So we have to watch the budget. Mike's correct. We did drop it for a few years in a row, but these are just tough things to act on, and they can be very sensitive and very, emotional. Because we all have strong opinions on certain ones of them. But I appreciate the people that came out and spoke to us today and gave us a heads up and an update. Commissioner?
I have nothing. I don't have anything further.
Willie. Vanessa.
I just wanted to give a little response to our public speaker that we had earlier, the director of Lansing Public Library. The librarian said a lot of interesting things. One was clear and obvious, which was a lack of respect and appreciation for elected officials that funnel tax dollars to the library. Anyone that says you fund this program but should have no interest in regards to its operation is perplexing to me. Any elected official that funnels tax dollars to any organization and does it in a hands-off fashion is not being responsible to the taxpayers that elected them. The librarian also admitted that they are the ones making the decision on what's appropriate or not for our children to be exposed to as minors. They are taking full advantage of that, as seen as in various libraries, having drag shows, etc. This is why who is on the library boards matter and needs to be fully paid attention to. Thankfully, when I was in the library, roughly in the 80s, as a child, there was an adult section, and no one was trying to convince me that I was born in the wrong body, should have my body altered to be married to Big Pharma for the rest of my life, or anything else like that. I caution such individuals to remember that they are taxpayer-funded, and misuse of taxpayer dollars is something that should not be taken lightly, especially when trying to target minors in a sexual manner. I, for one, choose to keep my child out of the libraries during the month of June and go over every single book with a fine-tooth comb since the assault on the minds of our children continues to grow. They are actively trying to stifle that magic of the library that they claim to still have, not only for parents, but for the very children they are wrongfully targeting. What exactly is the motivation behind the librarians pushing gender theory books on minors? Make libraries safe again. That's it.
Thank you, Vanessa. Everybody else? Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, folks.